Good morning, everyone. Today we discussed here in chapter number 6 the another point is your magnetic coil and solid state ignition. So, what is ignition? When we require some type of this, some requirement about the ignition systems. The ignition system is fundamental purpose of the ignition system is to supply of spark inside a cylinder near the end of the compression strokes and to ignite the compression charge of air fuel vapor for the spark to jump across air gaps in zero point 0.6 mm under the normal atmospheric conditions, and the voltage is here 2 to 3 kilovolt is required to spark jump across similar gap in an engine cylinder. Having a compression ratio it has to 1, approximately it has to 8 kilovolt is required for higher compression ratio, weaker mixture voltage up to 20 kilovolt may be necessary. The ignition system has to transfer the normal battery voltage of 12 volt to approximately 8 to 20 kilovolt. In addition, has to be delivered this high voltage to the cylinder at right time. Some ignition system will supply to 40 kilovolt to the spark plug. So as we know, some the four strokes is useful for these the ignition systems. First is nothing but the whatever we using some type of here the ignition system is required from the four strokes. First is suction stroke, second is compression stroke, third is power stroke, and in between them, after the power compression stroke and power stroke, the ignition takes place. And this ignition is required into the SI engine is their spark plug, and then CI engine requires some fuel injectors. And with the help of that, we taken as some this the ignition compression charge at air fuel ratio, and this air fuel ratio differentiate at this zero point 0.6 gaps 0.6 mm gap in between this spark plug for atmospheric condition 1 bar, and simultaneously we consider as the voltage is 2 to 3 kilovolt is required. This spark plug jumps to taken as here some different having compression ratios is 8 as to 1, and this approximately taken as some 8 kilovolt is required. So for further ratios, weaker mixture of the voltage is up to 20 kilovolt may be necessary. The ignition has transformed the normal battery voltage is 12 volt, and this approximately up to this 8 to 20 kilovolt, and ignition has to deliver his high voltage to right cylinder at the right time. Some ignition system will supply in 20 kilovolt to the spark plug. That's why similarly we can apply here that type of this conventional ignition has to fortune for these more advantageous systems controlled by the electronic systems. So when this control ignition takes place, it's net is worth mentioning at this stage that fundamentally operations of most ignition system is very similar, and one winding of the coil of is switch off or on off, causing the high voltage to be induced in second winding. And this fundamental wiring, this most ignition system is very similar to this most advanced system for control by the electronics, and one winding of the coil is switched off and off, causing this high voltage to induced in second winding. And a coil ignition system is composed of various components and assembles sub assembles an actual design and construction of which depends mainly on their ignition with which system to be used. So these terminals is images shown as here some type of some oldest spark please here. This is shown as some the terminal 5, terminal 1, terminal 4, and there is an insulating gap in the insulating cap. This insulating cap is taken as the insulation takes place into this. The high tension connection or the inside wire spark plug case mounting brackets, then iron core for used for their compounding the insulators and then sealing winding sealing. And this winding sealing also it takes place into this primary winding or secondary winding for some sealing compound. This sealing compound used to maintain into them in the spark plug which will maintain the magnetos. So there is another part is important is here some magneto coil is generating the magnetic field into this spark plug in the ignition systems, and at the time of this magnetic spark plug it takes place into the ignition switches, and these ignition switches takes place into this different kind of there. So whatever is images in front of you, see the last bottom side images is shown as some different parts. These parts is takes place here some sparking plugs. In simultaneously sparking plugs takes place in different cylinders as here the multi-cylinder heavy vehicles engine takes place, and this heavy vehicle multi-cylinder takes place in the distribution scabs. This distribution scabs is contact with some magnetic coils. This magnetic coil is connected to the ignition coil. This ignition coil takes place is connected into these ignition switches. These ignition switches is helpful for distributors with magnetic pickup. This figure is shown as a simple wiring diagram of the ignition system using magnetic pulse distributors and transistor control unit. The magnetic pulse amplifier units is connected between these primary windings, so that's why we permits this magnetic pulse amplifier to connected in the primary winding and the batteries. It permits again the current to flow this primary winding and interrupt the same in signal from the distributors. The signal from the distributors is action takes place in similar to this opening and closing the points in the case of the distributors with contact points. On this images in front of you, some magnetic coils takes place, and this magnetic field takes place into these magnetic coils. That with the help of some magnets, when they start some, what do we see about that? The ignition system will be takes place. Similarly, when we apply some that type of the similar ignition takes place, this with the help of some primary winding and secondary winding, and these primary windings is creates a magnetic field also supplied to this secondary winding. This secondary winding takes place into them some different kind of that. So this all about here some magnetics and solid test ignition system. Thank you.